Good morning, students. In this session, let us study the poem Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. In this session, we are going to study or understand the life and works of Maya Angelou. We try to understand the racial and gender discrimination practiced in America. We try to understand the ways of Maya Angelou's assertion to come free, and we try to appreciate the imagery used in the poem. After going through this session, we learn the life and works of Maya Angelou. We learn the inhuman ways of oppression practiced in America. We also learn and appreciate her confidence and hope to emerge free from the oppressors. Let us look into the life of Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou is an African American poet. African American poet born in the year 1928. Unfortunately, she was raped by her mother's boyfriend at the age of 7. And she took refuge in mutism. She gave up speaking for a few years after this event. She was so shocked by this event. She was raped by her own mother's boyfriend when she was just 7. So she was terrified, shocked, and she took refuge in mutism. Mutism, as I told you, is maintaining silence, being speechless for a few days. She penned or wrote her first verse or poem when she was at school. She started her writing career at a very early age. She started writing when she was at school. In 1950s, she joined the Harlem Writers Guild. It is an association of black writers. She joined this group in 1950s, and she married and went to Egypt with her husband. She edited an English newspaper there and spent her time as singer, dancer, actress in Egypt. She did so many jobs, not one particular job. She came back to America. After coming back to America, she worked as a teacher, screenwriter, civil activist. Later, she became an author. So, she worked in various fields. And she received many awards for her creative writing, and she died in the year 2014. Some of her poetic works are like this. Why the Caged Bird Sings. It is a collection of poems published in the year 1969. Why the Caged Bird Sings. And Still I Rise is another collection of poems published in 1978. In 1986, he published another collection of poems titled All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes. In 1993, she brought out another collection of poems, On the Pulse of Morning. In 1995, she brought out Phenomenal Women. In 2013, Mom and Me and Mom. And she wrote many other poems and brought out many poems collections throughout her life. Let us see or look into the poem Still I Rise. This poem is taken from our collection of poems titled And Still I Rise. This poem, Still I Rise, a poem of 43 lines. It critiques anti-black racism practiced in America. The poem consists of 7 quatrains and 2 end stanzas. The poem consists of 7 quatrains and 2 end stanzas. At the end of the poem, there are 2 end stanzas, which these 2 end stanzas help to reinforce the theme of indivisible hope, with the phrase I rise being repeated. In the last 2 end stanzas, the word I rise, I rise, I rise is repeated. This repetition of this phrase shows or helps to reinforce the theme of individual hope. It shows the hope of Maya Angelou. She had high hopes. Her hope is very well presented by the phrase I rise, which is repeated at the end of the poem. The poem Still I Rise aimed at the oppressor you by a black lady. The poem is addressed to the oppressor, one who oppresses the black people or Afro-Americans. She addresses them as you by a black lady. She is a black lady, African American. She addresses her white oppressors and she addresses them as you. And she follows the rhyme scheme A, B, C, D for the first 7 stanzas and changed A, B, C, C and A, B, B in the last 2, giving solid ending to the poem. The last 2 end stanzas follow the changed rhyme scheme A, B, C, C and A, B, B. Stanza number 6 brings oppressive issue to climax with hopes. In stanza number 6, she brings the oppressive issue to the climax with certain hopes. Let us see the exploitation of the Afro-Americans in America. Exploitation of the Afro-Americans. Afro-Americans are the black people in America. They are half Africans and half Americans. This poem was written with black slavery and civil rights in mind. When Maya Angelou wrote this poem, Still I Rise, she had black slavery and civil rights movement in her mind. But this poem has an universal appeal. It is not just restricted to black slavery and the civil rights movement, but it has an universal appeal. The white people can write bitter and twisted lines about black in history and present them as facts. She begins her poem with these words: the white people can write bitter and twisted lies. Whatever they write about the black people or Afro-Americans, they write twisted lies or bitter lies. Whatever they write is not right actually. They write only the lies in their books and articles about the black people and about the black history, and they present their lies as facts. That is what the white people can do. They are capable of doing it. They mislead the people of this world by writing lies, twisted lies and bitter lies about the Afro-Americans or black people. And they were even the oppressors, white oppressors can overpower and crush the Afro-Americans or blacks. They have the capacity to overpower the black people and crush them under their feet. Even the white oppressors can shoot with the words like bullets. Since white oppressors are well educated, they can use sharp and bitter language, bitter words on Afro-Americans. They can shoot the Afro-Americans with their words. They can use the words just like bullets. So she uses simile here. The words of the white oppressors are just like bullets. They pierce their body, pierce their heart, pierce their mind. Even they cut with a sharp glare. That is another metaphor that we find in the poem. The white oppressors can cut the bodies of the Afro Americans with just their glare, just by their uh, glance. Even they kill her with hatefulness. The white oppressors hate the black people or Afro Americans a lot. They can kill them with hatefulness. This way, the white oppressors exploit the Afro Americans. Besides that, the exploiter or the white oppressor wanted to see this Afro American lady as a sad, defeated, and submissive woman. The white oppressors always expected to see the black people as sad people, defeated ones, and submissive one. They should be always submissive to the white oppressors. They are not supposed to be equal to the white oppressors, or they are not supposed to present their freedom, abilities, and competencies before the white oppressors. They always expected them to be under their control. They should be always submissive, respectful to the white oppressors. So the white oppressors wanted to see the broken bodies of the Afro Americans. Broken in body and spirit. Not only broken in body but also in spirit. They should not have the confidence or spirit in them. They should be broken, suppressed. They should always keep their head bent, eyes looking down rather than up at the white oppressors. They are not supposed to look at the white oppressors straight away, and their shoulders should be always bending down like in the way tears fall down. Quite naturally, our tears fall down from our eyes. Similarly, their shoulders should bend down like the tears. They are not supposed to stand erect, and their body should be weakened by intense sobbing. They must keep on weeping or mourning, expressing their sorrow, disappointment. They are not supposed to be happy. This is the way in which white oppressors wanted to see the blacks or Afro Americans. But Maya Angelou very simply answers them. She lived with joy, contrary to their expectations, contrary to the expectations of the white oppressors. She lived with joy, lived with pride, and lived with dignity. This is an act of resistance against exploitation. She resisted the white oppressors' expectation. She acted against their wish. She resisted their exploitation, against and triumph over oppression. She celebrates or gets victory over the oppression by living with happiness, living with pride and dignity. So, when she started living with happiness, with dignity, the exploiter, white exploiter, felt hurt. He is so upset or offended, and he went gloomy and surprised because he possesses. Maya Angelou says she possesses or she wants. She walks as confidently as if she has oil wells in her living room. She behaves as if she is the richest lady in the world. She is so confident, she walks so confidently, holding her head high, as if she has oil wells in her living room. Oil wells bring in lot of wealth. The owner of the oil wells is a very, very rich man. She lives as if she is such a rich lady, having all the wealth in her living room. That made the white oppressors feel hurt. They could not tolerate her happiness, her richness, her resources. She is as happy and proud as if she had the gold mines in her backyard. Maya Angelou lives as if she is very very happy, and she feels very proud, as if she has the gold mines in her backyard. Having gold mines in her backyard means to say that she is very very rich. She lives, even though she is not that rich, she lives as if she is such a rich lady. That hurt them a lot. They felt hurt by this. She dances as if she has diamonds between the meeting of her thighs. She dances. Dance is a symbol of happiness. She expresses her happiness by dancing. Her dance is as if she has diamonds between her meeting of the thighs. So she asserts a black woman's richness and womanhood by doing all this in front of the white oppressors and making them feel hurt. She asserts, she defends black woman's richness and womanhood. Black woman is in no way inferior to the white oppressors. She is very very rich, and even her womanhood is also very very rich. She challenges the exploiters. She bravely or boldly challenges the white exploiter. She rises out of the dust, yes, dust rises out of the earth. She tells them outrightly that she rises out of the dust as dust rises out of the earth. Her rise is compared to the rise of the dust out of the earth. Whenever the wind blows, the dust quite naturally rises from the earth. She is a dust for the white oppressors, but even though she is a dust, useless thing, she rises up from the earth just like dust rises out of the earth. She shows her confidence and she challenges them. Even though you suppress me or treat me just like you treat the dust as insignificant one, I am not that insignificant. I am a significant one. I rise out of the earth even though you suppress me. And she says, just like moons and suns, she rise and come and face the white oppressors, just like the moons and suns which rise every day, appear every day, with the certainty of tides. The tides on the oceans or on the rivers, they keep moving constantly, certainly. They do not stop. So she says, my rise cannot be stopped. My rise is just like the tides on the ocean. My hopes, just like hopes of springing up, her hopes spring up every time she is suppressed. She rises up just like the moons and suns, just like the tides, just like the dust out of the earth. Just as air keeps rising, she rises out of huts of history's shame. Air keeps rising. The air keeps rising in the environment. Similarly, she says, she rises out of huts of history's shame. She is living in small cottages and huts, not in bungalows. Even though she is leading a very, very miserable and poor life, she rises out of huts of history's shame. History has treated them in a very shameful manner. She has tolerated that shame. Even then, she rises out of that shame, up from the past that is rooted in pain. The history of the Afro-Americans or blacks is very, very painful. If you look at the roots of their history, they led a painful, miserable life throughout. Even then, she led such a miserable life, painful life, exploited life. She rises from that pain. She is as vast and full of power as a dark ocean. She says she compares herself to the power of the dark ocean. She is as vast as the ocean and she is as powerful as the dark ocean. She is not an ordinary lady. Her power is compared to the power of the dark ocean. She rises just like the ocean rises. And the walls and swell, that's wells and swells and carries the tide. Dark ocean wells collects a lot of water. It swells whenever there are strong winds in the form of waves, and it carries the tide. Similarly, Maya Angelou is very, very powerful. She is just like the ocean. She wells, she swells, and carries the tide of history forward, and she cannot be kept quiet. She rises up like the tides and leave behind all the darkness of terror and fear. In history, these Negroes or black people experienced a lot of terror and fear by the white oppressors. She says she leaves all these things behind her. She leaves behind the terror and fear the people, black people experienced. They leave it behind and rise up, just like the tides rise up. So she has the challenge. She challenges the white oppressors. They cannot suppress her and keep her quiet. And she leaves behind the pain, and she becomes energetic day by day. Enters a bright morning that is full of joyful wonder with a grace she inherited. She tells the white oppressors. Every morning she enters a bright morning every day, leaving behind her pain, miseries, problems that she faced. That is full of joyfulness. She will be very, very happy every day morning when the sun rises. She is very energetic. Joyful wonder with the grace she inherited. She inherited grace from the black people. She experienced a lot of pain. Even then, whenever she gets up, every day is a new day for her, a pleasant day for her. She rises every day, bringing the gifts that ancestors gave. She very clearly or metaphorically says, every day she brings the gifts that ancestors gave. The gifts that their ancestors gave her were are or is the dark color. The color of the black people is the gift. It means to say that they are the dark people. They were given the dark color by their ancestors. She is very proud of being a dark lady, black lady. She has inherited that from her parents, grandparents, or ancestors. She embodies and dreams and hopes of her roots. She says she embodies or she has the dreams and hopes of her roots or her people, black people. She is the hope and dream of her black people. She represents the black people. Her dreams and hopes are the dreams and hopes of her race. They are the dreams and hopes of our black people. She is the representative of the black people. I am the dream, I am the hope of the slaves. She very boldly says, I am the dream, I am the hope of the slaves. I rise, I rise, I rise. So she uses the metaphor. Dream and hope stands for the black people. And Maya Angelou is the dream and hope. She is the leader. She is the hope for the common people or the black people. She says, you oppressors, you do whatever you want to do to suppress me. Suppress the black people. You cannot. If you suppress us more and more, we rise again and again. You cannot stop our rise. So despite racism and adversity, she expresses her faith that she and the whole of black will overcome their hardships and triumph. Even though they create adversity, even though the white oppressors practice racism and create adversity for the black people, She has faith in herself or in her community or in a race, and she says that the whole black community will overcome the hurdles put on their ways, and they cross all the hardships on their way and they get success against the white oppressors. So, in this poem, Maya Angelou responds to the ill treatment not only by the surviving, but not only by surviving, but thriving. She responds to the white oppressors, even though the black are ill treated by the white oppressors. She leads or she survives on this earth, not just surviving but by thriving, by getting success day by day. She improves her condition, fights for her rights. She survives and thrives, gets success. And that is very well presented in this poem. It is a poem of defiance, opposing the poem. In the poem, she opposes the discrimination meted out to the black people by the white oppressors. It is pricking conscience of the oppressor. She is pricking the conscience of the oppressors. She makes the white oppressors to question themselves. And this poem is packed with figurative language. She uses so many images and she uses figurative language to convey her rise in the poem. It is a poem of self-respect and confidence. In this poem, she expresses her self-respect. She doesn't undermine her own character or the character of the black people. All the black people, including this writer, have self-respect and they have the confidence and hope. She shows nothing can get her down. She makes it very, very clear to the white oppressors that nothing can get them down or her down. Her voice is very, very clear and it is very, very loud. She makes a loud voice, cry aloud, and make the white oppressors understand that they cannot suppress her. She is very, very clear in her vision. Her rise is inevitable and unstoppable. She tells them that her rise, her success is inevitable and nobody can stop her. Her success is unstoppable. She rose from the dust. You see the images that she uses. First, she rose from the dust. Then she joined the air, from dust to air. From air, she talks about the tides. She, in the form of tides, cannot be stopped by the white oppressors. And she rises just like the tides, just like the sun, just like the moon. Nobody can stop her. Nobody can stop the black people getting success. So Nelson Mandela, the leader, one of the very important leaders from South Africa, read out this poem, Still Arise, on his release from the jail. When he was released from the jail, Nelson Mandela read out this poem because he was imprisoned for a long time in jail. When he came out of the jail, he read out this poem, Still I Rise. You can imprison me for years and years, years together. You cannot suppress me. You cannot silence me. You cannot stop my voice. I still rise and rise and raise my voice. It is an anthem for many such people. This poem is just like an anthem and it gives voice to the so many voiceless people. It is an inspirational poem. So let us revise whatever we learnt in this particular poem. This is an inspirational poem. It inspired so many people and even Nelson Mandela was also inspired by this poem. So he recited this poem on his release from the jail. With a powerful repetitive energy, a universal message is conveyed and is a clear positive pulse throughout the poem is felt. The poem has a clear and particular resonance for the black Americans. More broadly, the poem is a rising assertion of the dignity of the marginalized black people and an insistence on the ultimate, inevitable triumph over violence and hate. It shows the fight of the marginalized black people, and it is inevitable for them to get success over violence and hate, even though they are hated and violence is meted out to them by the white oppressors. It is inevitable for them to fight against them and get success. It gives the voice and success to the Negroes. So Maya Angelou is the voice of the black people in America. She is the voice of the black people, and she is the dream of the black people in America. Let us try to answer some of the questions. The speaker in the poem is a white man, a white woman, a black woman, a historian. The speaker in the poem is a black woman. The tone of the speaker is in the poem mild, submissive, voiceless, triumphant. Triumphant. The tone of the speaker is triumphant. Which of the following word is not used in the poem to refer to exploitation of the black? Kill, shoot, cut, drown. Drown is the word which is not used in the poem to refer to the exploitation of the black people. The figure of speech used in I am the dream and the hope of slaves. Simile, metaphor, irony, personification. The figure of speech used in this line is a metaphor. The speaker says she has a oil well in her bedroom, in her living room, in her backyard, between her thighs. In her living room. These are all the sites that I visited for preparation of this presentation. Thank you for listening.